Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to Have a Chat. I am your host for today's show, Judy Losier, and I'm delighted, as always, to be with Veronique Arsenault. Today, she's my co-host. Audrey had other business going on, but Vero, great to see you. How are you?
So glad to be with you, Judy, here. And of course, it's glad to be on our show and have our wonderful guests lined up to join us in a few minutes.
Yes, and it's hard to believe we're mid-July, and that leaves me feeling really good because it's my favorite time, summertime, and I just love the feeling of warm days and the pool and flowers and all of it. I'm in my hog heaven right now, being in July. Veronique, did you find us a quote for today?
I did actually, it definitely spoke to me this morning, and it's interesting. It's a thought that often crosses my mind, but when it came up in a quote, I thought, yeah, isn't that just perfect? And
Okay.
so it's by unknown, so it's an anonymous quote, but it says, "Life isn't always fair. Some people are born into better environments, some have better genetics, and some are in the right place at the right time. If you're trying to change your life, all of this is irrelevant. All that matters is that you accept where you are, figure out where you want to be, and then do what you can today and every day to hold your head high and keep moving forward."
That's really motivational because we know that even those of us who are blessed to be in the setting that we're in with, great home and family and monetary, what's the word we're looking for? Like we're comfortable, we're
Mhm.
happy, but then there are those that are so unhappy. So all they can do is make the most with what they have and try to know that they're going to do the very best they can do with whatever resources they have, and that hopefully they'll get through life, with the support of other people, looking out for them and helping them. And that's all we can do. And that's really kind of an ironic quote that you brought up today because I was watching a documentary on Lauren Wasser. She is a former runway model. And in 2012, she developed toxic shock from the tampon that she had in and almost died. I mean, they literally thought she was going to die. And that was her fame and fortune, was her face and her body. She came from parents that were models. Pam Cook was her mother, a sensation back in her day. And so, long story short, the girl was devastated because she had to have both legs amputated and her life was forever changed. And she said, I was so used to being beautiful. And she didn't mind saying it. She's drop dead gorgeous. She said, my fame was my beauty, my body. What am I going to do now? And she said, I felt so ashamed and I felt so ugly and I felt so unwanted out there that I just wanted to keep a hoodie on all the time. And then, to your quote, she had to pull up her socks one day, literally. They call her the girl with the golden legs now. She made the most of what she had. She said, I can either curl up in a ball or smarten the heck up and get on with my life, which she has. And now she's a voice for all kinds of people out there that are amputees and for the toxic shock syndrome that comes with this type of thing. It's an eye opener that she went from having everything to having two legs that are now, with the prosthetics. So, but
Mhm.
she's moved on. She's accepted it.
Yeah, and it's true, and and what a story that she has, absolutely. And there's no question that there are days when, and you and I are both blessed in a lot of ways, and
Yeah.
there are still days where it's like, you feel like life is tough, or you feel like a situation is
Mm-hmm.
tough to get
Mm-hmm.
through, and everybody has those days, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there are those who are born in situations, and we look at some of our refugee families that have come over,
Mm-hmm.
and rebuilt their lives after having lived in war-torn countries for most of their
Yes.
lives. And it's just it not everybody can, but it
No.
those who try and do the best that they can with what they have can live happy, fulfilled lives. And it doesn't all come from having money or from having great looks, although of course that's lovely, but you still have to build a life from that. Even if you're fantastic
Yeah.
looking, you still have to build a life
Yeah.
from that, right? You have to work hard
That's
to build
right.
your life, even if you have a ton of money. You have to work hard to build
Right.
your life. So it's all in what you do with
Mm-hmm.
it. I'm babbling a whole lot today, but it's all in what you do with it. And and how you can make your mark on the world and make the most of your life.
Veronique, what do you know that Jeff Bezos, now the founder and chairman of Amazon, is his net worth at this very moment is $212.4 billion. I mean, can you even fathom that? That's incredible. There are 7.9 billion people in the world, which means he could probably give let me do my math, every single person in this world at that rate, $30 each.
That's incredible.
That's crazy. What would you think? What would you do if you owned $212.4 billion?
Billion with a B. It's hard to imagine, right? Like, it's hard to imagine.
Mhm.
I even think, millions, it's hard to imagine at times, but there's lots of things I would love to do. A foundation. Living here in the
Mhm.
Miramichi and in New Brunswick, I know that there's a lot of things that we need, right, as a community, and
Yeah.
you and Gerard
Mhm.
have made a lot of those things happen medically, for our medical care. And for me, there's a lot of things that I envision that I would love to do in our region, and I'm finding my own ways to do that. But to have 212 billion, I could make those happen a little bit
Ah,
quicker, right? But I've always wanted to start a foundation and have that foundation help nonprofits in our area, right? And because
wonderful.
nonprofits are
Yeah.
always looking for money, and I don't mean handing out that money,
Mhm.
but helping them find money, helping them pool their resources
Mhm.
and fundraise, helping them work together, and maybe writing proposals and all of those things that they
Right.
need help with in order to operate.
Yeah.
That's always been in the back of my mind. Another thing, of course, is
Mhm.
for me is passion project is passion priority. I call it, actually, is mental health in our region.
Yes.
How do we help people, and
Mhm.
help them to be okay in whatever
Yeah.
setting that they're in, and help them to thrive. So
Mhm.
I can't even listen. And there's also, some trips I'd like to take. Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
I as giving as I am, there's also some stuff I'd really like to do myself. Heading to
Yes.
Hawaii is one of them. I'd
Right.
absolutely take a trip to Hawaii, but there's a lot of things that I would love to fill my days doing here in the Miramichi, and in our province in
Mhm.
general, that $212 billion
Mhm.
could help with.
I think it's just mind blowing. And his ex wife, Mackenzie Scott, she's a philanthropist, thanks to him. And she's also a novelist. So she has her own money coming in from that. But she also has a 4% stake in Amazon. Okay. So she now, even though she's divorced, has a personal wealth of 57 billion. I mean, to me, it's just like, whoa, it's just all crazy. He is in not very many days from now going to take his own spaceship up. But Richard Branson, the billionaire, got ahead of him. What did you think of Richard Branson, that Virgin Air guy, Virgin Record, Virgin Mogul, going to space in his own ship? That was quite something, wasn't it?
I find that amazing, and like, it's incredible that someone has enough money to build a
Yeah.
spaceship, right? And
Yeah.
to actually go to space as a civilian, because like, I find, you look at astronauts and all of the things that they have to
Mm-hmm.
study, and the
Mm-hmm.
years that they spend training and studying, and how brilliant they are, and then for the select few go to space, and here this gentleman has enough money to do that on his own. And I
Yes.
find that
Yes.
absolutely remarkable. I do think, though, that it is possible to have too much money.
Yes, I do too, Veronique. I do too. I mean, like, look at the poor countries. Look at how many people are starving. Little children that wouldn't know what a decent meal was in the run of a year. They get scraps of whatever, and their water. So many people are going with the, not good. Oh, it's just so disturbing to me. And it's nice to know that, like, I've not met him, but I've seen Richard Branson when I was in London, England. And he's really nice. Like they say, he's humble. He was waving at crowds and speaking to crowds. I couldn't get too close to him when I was there, but really a beautiful, down to earth man for all he has. And so kudos to him. There's nothing worse than somebody that is above everybody else, even though they're miles and millions above everybody, in the financial status. that he still maintains the niceness about him. I really admire that in people. And I think that's what it's all about. And you can't take that money with you, but you can leave a legacy behind and you can do a lot while you're on earth. And hopefully Bezos and he are both donating to the right causes and helping out where they can. I would hope they are anyway.
Yeah,
Veronique, I don't know how
absolutely.
much, yeah, yeah. I don't know how much time we have, but just tell me, how are things going with you now in a nutshell as a city councilor?
Yeah, you know what? It is such a learning experience, right? And we've been in orientation for the last number of weeks. Actually since June 1st, we started orientation, and the city staff put together an incredible orientation package. We meet Tuesdays and Thursdays every week. I've
Mhm.
just been appointed to a couple of our local organizations as a city representative, and I'm really looking forward to that. Beaubear Island is one of them,
Ah,
and Logie House is another, and then the Francophone
nice.
Association of Municipalities is another. And so it's
Good.
you know what, it's a lot of learning, and I'm loving it, to be honest. My colleagues have been incredibly generous with their knowledge and their support, you know, especially the returning
Great.
counselors. It I never imagined that I would be so fascinated by, you know, bylaw rezonings or, you know, determining what type of garbage bin is the best, but I am absolutely
Yeah.
loving it every day. You know, I take
Mhm.
home that package every week that they give us for our next meeting, and I read through it because there's so much technical information. But thankfully, the staff that works at City Hall, the directors of each of the departments, provide incredible background information and recommendations. So it's really it's a wonderful experience, and I'm so thankful for the support that I got in order to get to city council, but the support I've gotten since then. You know, people are calling for all sorts of things that I never imagined, you know,
Yes.
we'd be looking at. But
Mhm.
I'm so thankful and so interested when people either send me an email or a message, or give me a call, because it gives me an opportunity to figure out how best I can help someone, or help the city in general get a little bit better.
Well, I just knew you were destined for that. And I knew the buzz leading up to the election that people were saying, from knowing you, Veronique, personally, and from all the volunteer work you do in the city and just your connections. You have a very wonderful way with people, and people gravitate towards you because you always
Thank
have
you.
time for other people. And to me, that is so important. I mean, I know I do the same thing, and I'm connected to hundreds and hundreds of people, but you have to connect with that person in order for them to trust you, and you've done that. You've opened your heart and you've opened your ears, and when someone's talking to you, you're actually listening. And that's the first step, is being a good person to talk to and trust and listening. And you're putting your money where your mouth is, basically, because you're already jumping right in there and getting on board to do good work. And I had that belief in you all along, and I'm sure our viewers did too, because I had people come up to me on the street and say, oh, I know, your husband's sister's daughter's running for council, and she will rock it. She'll be amazing. And so, again, I'm really super proud of you. And I know that you're learning because you're very smart, and that you bring a lot to the table every week. And I'm really excited for you and for our city to have you and everybody else on board with city council.
Well,
Yeah.
and thank you, Judy. It was so humbling actually to get the amount of support that I got in the election. It was actually a surprise for me. So I was
No.
so thankful for that. But I will say this: I've been asked often why I decided to run for municipal politics rather than any other level
Hmm.
of government, and for me, municipal politics really is that best way that we can help the
Yeah.
day to day life of our neighbors, our friends, our family, our, you know, our fellow citizens here in the Miramichi.
Yeah.
And because really we are talking literally about things that affect our day to day life, whereas, you know, some other
Yes.
levels of government tend to be a little bit more removed. Not that it doesn't affect us, but
Mm.
it's not in the same way. And
Yeah.
so I that's why I love it when people give me a call or send me an email, because then I am knowing, I do get to listen, and I do get to find out from their perspective,
Yeah.
you know, what's bothering them, what's not making life okay here, and how do I
Yeah.
best help. Sometimes we can't help, you know, and I'm learning that
Yeah.
as well. But most often my question always now, most often to our city manager, is how do I get to a yes on this.
Uh huh. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
driven. You're the girl. You're the one. I have faith in you, Veronique. I
thank
just
you.
want to say that I've met a lot of people over the 7+ years that we've been doing this with the awesome Rogers team, Have a Chat show. And, I've been out in even during COVID, of course, with my mask on, people still recognize my hair, my eyes. And I'll say something like, "Oh, I'm Judy Losier." And they say, "We know, we watch Rogers," or I find that
Yeah.
so funny, and people are really enjoying it. I just want to say thank you to everybody that takes the time to watch us and to tune in every week. And we don't have much time left, Veronique, but we're going to give a big shout out to your aunt and my sister-in-law, who's now with us all the way from St. Paul, Alberta, Andrea La Rochelle. We love having her. She's just arrived. And maybe
Yeah.
before we go to break and come back with some guests, you want to say just something about her being back. We don't have much time.
Yeah, just so great to have her. She normally comes 3 or 4 times a year, but of course with COVID, she hasn't been able to come visit us. But she was able to land yesterday, and so thrilled about that. And she's staying with us and going to spend some time with all of the family over the summer, and we're going to have some adventures
Mhm.
and just thrilled, just happy to be in the summertime months right now.
Yes, so welcome back to everyone here. I can't wait to see other people now that we have less restrictions. I'm anxious to not go too far, but I'm going to make some little journeys here and there, maybe to Halifax, Prince Edward Island, and we shall see. But I'm just happy that we see that the masks might be kind of less and less having to be worn too. I don't know when that point will ever come, but I know Prince Edward Island was talking about it, and maybe they've already started to ease back on the masks. I'm not sure, but I think I'm going to have a mask burning party, and you're all invited, anyone that's watching the show, once we're able to ditch them. But in the meantime,
Absolutely.
I don't want anybody to go too far. Veronique and I love being with you, spending our time. We have two fabulous guests lined up. So um, just stay tuned, and you won't want to miss our show. We'll be back very shortly. So, if you're just joining us, welcome back to Have a Chat. Once again, I'm your host for today's show, Judy Losier, joined by my beautiful co-host, Veronique Arsenault. And we're very proud to have a guest that's been on once a long time ago and back again for an update. And that is the lovely Laura Sargent. And Laura is owner of Healing Path Recovery Services. Welcome to our show, Laura.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure having you. It's been a long time. And
It
just for
has.
those, yes, and we're happy to have like the viewers listen to your story. And so
Mhm.
for those who missed that airing quite a few years ago now, probably three maybe, could you just
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about yourself? And when you tell
Mhm.
us a little bit about your personal life, just maybe walk us through in a brief summation your journey, a little bit about your
Yes.
background.
Yes. So, again, my name is Laura. I have grown up in Miramichi, born and raised here. My family of four, wonderful, supportive parents, and a wonderful brother have definitely helped shape me into the person that I am today. Raised with really good morals, values. Really authentic connection with my whole family, really. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that part of my journey, or I guess the beginning of my journey through addiction, really began in middle school. Um,
Mhm.
I was bullied a lot. And I think that really I lost myself at that point. I lost connection with myself. And,
Mm.
as human beings, we have to connect with something. So I think that I chose addiction, to kind of numb the pain and the
Mhm.
suffering that I was feeling due to the bullying that I experienced. So in
Mhm.
2008, my parents decided to send me to a rehab center in Montreal, which I stayed
Mhm.
for the program. I completed it. I strung together a year's worth of sobriety. But eventually, I went back out and I relapsed, and I ended up staying
Mhm.
in Montreal for, I think it was roughly 7 years. Um, and then decided to move back to Miramichi, close to my support network, which is my family. Um,
Mhm.
and I met my children's father. So I have two beautiful children, twins, a boy and a girl. So it keeps me on my toes. um,
Yeah.
yes. And so they were born in 2016. Um, and I was still actively using during that time. I managed to stay sober for the duration of the pregnancy, but then I went
Mhm.
back out. And you pick up right where you left off, and that pain and that suffering, I never healed properly.
Mhm.
So it was just always
Mhm.
there. It never really went away. And I kept trying to mask it. And then, dealing with postpartum, being a new mother, um, being an addict, it was just, that's when I hit my bottom. And,
Mhm.
so in 2017, the kids were a year old, and I knew this time, like, okay, now I've got not just myself, but I've got these two kids. Like, I've got to get it together. I've got to recover.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah. So I went to a facility in Nova Scotia called Oak Hill. It was an all women's retreat, which
Mhm.
I truly believe those authentic connections with those women is what really separated me from not recovering last time and this time now recovering. So
Mhm.
I'm now over 4 years sober. So very,
Yay!
very, yeah. So very
Oh,
proud about that. My kids are doing so well. We're all just really, really happy to be on this journey of sobriety together, because I think they're the reason why I am where I am today. So in a
yes.
nutshell,
And I've
that's me.
and I've known you my whole life, and you're such a radiant soul and such a genuinely beautiful person that, I'm just so happy that you're healthy and doing so
Yes,
well. And,
yes.
everything's just so much better. And that just makes me
Mm,
feel totally thrilled for you, Laura. So I'll turn it over
thank
to
you.
Veronique.
Yes.
Yes.
I, yeah, absolutely amazing. And congratulations on all of the incredibly hard work that you've done over the last 4 years and continue to do. So thanks for that. And thanks for sharing that with us. Can you
Yeah.
Yes.
talk to us a little bit about the Healing Path Recovery Service that you offer?
Yes. So once I came home from Oak Hill and had some time under my belt, I just had this sensation, urge, so to speak, that okay, everything that I have gone through, it can't just be for nothing. Like, I knew I had to rise above this and really offer the teachings and the lessons that I have had. And I wanted to give back not only to myself, but to my community. Um, so I'm a recovery coach. And what I do is I work one on one with clients who are in recovery from addiction. And, we sit down and we set goals, and, I facilitate what recovery looks like for them. And
Mhm.
it's led by them because they know what they've gone through. They know what works for them. So it's really just about me kind of helping guide them along the way and really being that support system for them in their recovery, because we know oftentimes with addiction, there's a lot of toxicity and negative influences. So I am that
Mhm.
positive influence and support for that individual.
Amazing.
Yes, perfect. And with all of that, of course, there would be a link, a large link with mental health. Did you want to touch on that, Laura?
Yes. So when I was looking for office space, I had put it out there on Facebook looking to see if anybody had any space to offer for me just to get started. And a friend of mine, Samantha Siddle, She is a nutrition and life coach here in Miramichi. She owns Simply for Life. So she had offered me, or she has offered me space to work in. And being in the same facility as her, we just kept talking about how broken the system is and how, like there's just so many broken people right now
Yeah.
and how many people actually need help out there. So, we talked and conversed for probably close to a year until, COVID happened. And then it was a worldwide pandemic. And then the real
Mhm.
crisis hit. It became very apparent that we had to do something to help
Yeah.
people.
Mhm.
So we started Mental Link, which we've created a website which has a list of all kinds of different resources for people within our community to access. And a lot of the time, it's really people don't get help because they don't know what's out there. So
Right.
think of it as an information hub, so to speak.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and the other really exciting part about Mental Link is that we're offering free classes for
Oh,
people to come together. We just had a few women's group meetings.
yeah.
Fantastic. I'm so, so proud of all of the women who showed up, who were vulnerable, who, you know, made that choice for themselves to show up in that authenticity, because I think that's what we're all
Mhm.
lacking. At the end of the day, I
Yes.
think that we need to get back to the basics and start connecting with one another. We've lost
Mhm.
that in humanity. So it is our mission to help facilitate that within our community.
Very good. Perfect.
Amazing. Amazing.
Mhm.
So actually, mental health is one of my passion priorities now as a city councilor, and so I'll be reaching
Mhm.
out to you and Sam to talk about an initiative that I've got going on pretty soon.
Mm.
But anyway, tell us what's new and exciting, what's coming up next for you, and what you've got on the horizon.
Big things on the horizon. Um, I've done a pretty big full circle, and I'm now working with the owner
Mm.
of the facility that I went to
Ooh.
in Nova Scotia. So he actually sold the two centers in Nova Scotia. His name is George, and him and I, see the need. We
Yeah.
understand that it's extremely difficult for people to pack up,
Mm.
go somewhere for 3 4
Yeah.
months. Women with children, it's the whole stigma around it, leaving your children. So what he's offering is to come to the individual, bring the rehab to them. So he would
Mm.
do an intense 3 week intimate therapy with them. So basically, everything you would get from going to rehab, but you have to split your time with however many people are
Yeah.
there. So it's just working one on one and having all the same
Yeah.
therapist and clinical team to really help you.
Wow.
And so it's really exciting. He's actually here in Miramichi right now working with someone,
Yes.
and it's going great. So
Super.
it's yeah, very exciting. Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, it's more than exciting. It's fantastic news because, like you said, people they just first of all, it's so costly, and second of all, their families and
Mhm.
everything is just what do you do? So that this is a perfect
Right.
thing to strike up.
Yes.
Laura, like we know, on like Veronique and I know, the viewers know, all of us know, so many people struggling with substance abuse. I mean, it's a
Mm,
huge, huge everyday problem that we face, not just in Miramichi, but worldwide. So, for
mhm,
the people that are watching the show and maybe have a husband, a son, daughter, nephew, whatever, family, or a neighbor that they care about, struggling big time, how do we try to reach them? And maybe before you say ways that we can reach out to them, like for me to direct them to your services kind of thing and talk to them.
mhm,
Um, what are we up against here? I mean, we have so many street drugs, we have so many drugs, period, prescription pills. Can
mhm.
you just talk to us a little bit about what's out there and how desperately the situation is at this point in time?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much going on right now, and in my 4+ years in recovery, I've obviously had lots of time to reflect on those questions, and why now is it so out of control. And
Yeah.
I have to always link it back to the fact that, with social media and
Mhm.
everything, I feel like social media has disconnected people. Like I said,
Yeah.
we've lost that humanness about us, and people have
Yes.
lost the ability to connect authentically with one another. And
Hmm.
we're programmed as human beings to fuse with something. We have to
Right.
connect with something. So if we're not
Hmm.
connecting with other human beings, well, then you have what we have on our hands now, which is a lot more addiction. So yeah, that being said, if you do know somebody that is struggling, well, the first
Hmm.
thing is to know that recovery is possible. I'm living proof of that. I used to
Hmm.
identify so much with being an addict, and today I really don't. Like, I don't relate to it because I've grown so much. So it is absolutely possible to recover. Um,
Yeah.
yes, and there is help out there. I think the first step
Hmm.
really is admitting that you do have a problem. Unfortunately, there's lots of times where family members want us to get better, and but it really has to come from that individual. So
Hmm.
if that person is
That's right.
ready to step up to the plate and make changes in their lives, I am here for you. If anybody's listening to
Hmm.
this, and you can reach me on Facebook on my Healing Path Recovery Services page, or
Hmm.
we do have a mental link page as well. So, and there's our website there, so you can check out all the information as
Yeah.
to what services are provided or offered here in Miramichi.
Very good. No, a super, super thing to know that you're available and you have the services in
Mm,
place. I'm sure it'll be
yeah.
very much appreciated when the word gets out and you're growing every day, for
Hmm.
sure.
Yes.
Part of the challenge, and oftentimes, some of the not oftentimes, but some of the stories that I've heard relate to that stigma around
Hmm.
addiction. And when we think of someone with an addiction, we always think of someone struggling financially, someone or living on the streets or that kind of thing. But um, talk to us a little bit about you know that stigma around addiction and how we help people get past that, and how we help the people
Hmm.
that are struggling, really.
Yeah.
I mean, addicts obviously, come in all walks of life. And you'd be surprised at just how many people, with great jobs, great careers, wonderful families,
Hmm.
addiction does not discriminate, and it can
No.
happen to anybody.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that if we take away the ideas of what addiction is supposed to look like, and realize that it can happen to anybody, you know, um,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
and the opposite of addiction is connection. So really, people who are addicted to substance really are just disconnected from their self. And in order to help that person, it's to be there for them. So that's how we're going to
Good.
start to solve this problem with addiction, is getting rid of those ideas, and just maybe asking that person, how did you get here? Just be human.
Hmm.
Like, we're all
Hmm.
human beings. So I think at the
Love
end of
it.
the day, a little more compassion could definitely go a long way.
So,
Love it.
in our last minute, I think we have a minute or less than a minute. Laura, just to wrap up the show, again, we're so happy to see you so healthy and doing so well, and to offer this Healthy Path Recovery Services in Miramichi. Just in the final wrap up answer to my question, how are you feeling today overall as far as your working out, and what would you like to say about your whole overall picture about yourself?
I mean, if somebody would have told me that this was honestly going to be my life in 4 years, I would have said you're crazy, because I
Yeah.
was in such a dark place. I feel
Yes.
absolutely on top of the world, if I'm being honest. I am so grateful.
Oh,
My kids are happy. I'm happy. They're healthy. I'm
yeah.
healthy. It's just
Yeah.
life is truly, truly amazing. And I continue to um, inspire others. I love to do that, to let
Yes.
them know that recovery is possible. Yeah, so life is awesome.
Life is awesome and you're
Wonderful.
awesome. And on that note, thank you once again for being our vibrant, informative,
Yes,
really special guest, Laura. And hope to
thank
see you
you.
back, yeah, for another review there down the road. So don't go
Yes,
far, guests or viewers,
no.
because we're going to have another very special guest coming up right away. Stay tuned. Well, hello. We are back again with more Have a Chat. I'm your host once again for today's show, Judy Losier, joined by my beautiful co-host, Veronique Garcineau. And joining us now is Dr. Angela Berry. Angela is president of the New Brunswick Association of Naturopathic Doctors, and she is also at the Miramichi Naturopathic Health Clinic here. And we're so happy that you're in Miramichi. Welcome, Dr. Berry.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
It's a pleasure for us. And so, would you just tell our viewers a little bit about who you are?
Sure. So, again, my name is Angela Berry. I grew up in Chatham. I have two older brothers. I graduated from James M. Hill. I went to university at Acadia and then at York University before going into university to become a naturopathic doctor. I practiced for 6 years in Ontario, and I've been back here for 6 years as well.
Awesome. That's our gain,
Wow.
right?
Absolutely.
Hopefully.
Just before Veronique goes to her question, tell us about your role as the New Brunswick Association of Naturopathic Doctors. You're the president for New Brunswick.
So I was co-president for a year, and I've been president on my own for the last year. I have one more year of the term. Our goal right now as a profession in the province is to have title protection or to actually become regulated because New Brunswick's not regulated for naturopathic medicine. And the reason that's
Okay.
important to our association right now is that we actually only have 21 regulated naturopathic doctors in New Brunswick, but we have almost 200 people who are calling themselves naturopathic doctors in the province or billing as naturopathic
Oh,
doctors.
okay. Really important then that
Okay.
clear
Yeah,
that up. Interesting. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. And that actually leads to my question. Can you tell us exactly what a naturopathic doctor is?
sure. So in the provinces that we are regulated, we are licensed as primary care practitioners. So I would see patients for something like a sore throat or blood pressure or cholesterol, like anything you could see your family doctor for. But a naturopathic doctor is going to treat that person through natural means. So we use Chinese medicine, we use homeopathy, nutrition, or lifestyle counseling. So a variety of techniques, tools in our tool belt, so to say, to treat people in a natural way.
Okay,
Amazing.
so that leads us to the next question then. What are some of the things you do in your practice, Dr. Berry?
So I primarily see people for female hormonal problems, so fertility or menstrual cycle irregularities. A lot of women come from menopause, and I have a special interest as well in digestive care and skin,
Mhm.
and those two are actually pretty tightly connected. So that's probably the biggest things that I see in my practice.
You said skin?
Yes.
Oh, that's an interesting thing. Could you just expand a little
Yeah.
bit on that one, perhaps?
So anti-aging, but as well as eczema, psoriasis, acne, that sort of thing.
Okay, wonderful.
Amazing.
Interesting, eh, Veronique?
I know I'm fascinated by it, and I actually do go to the clinic there and see Dr. Leonard. So I've used your services at the clinic quite a bit. So no, so what are the benefits of naturopathic medicine?
So, of course, there's a time and a place for all types of medicine. Our goal would be to try to do the gentlest, safest approach first and foremost to see if we can bring about change. Um, like I said, of course, there's always a time for the use of pharmaceuticals, but we're trying to achieve those benefits before in a more natural way.
Okay. So, what would be some of the principles that are in place for naturopathy?
So the same as a medical doctor, first is to do no harm, of course, but we also have to support the healing power of nature. So the goal as a naturopath is we're trying to achieve health, and the body has an innate ability to return to health. And our goal as a naturopath is to find those obstacles to cure so that the person can get to that healthy state again. And we're always trying
Mhm.
to identify and treat the cause. So, what is the underlying issue? So, someone may come in, for example, with eczema, and so we would think that is solely as an exterior concern. So, it's a skin issue. We would treat it topically, but that's not necessarily the case. We want to find the underlying reason. Are they sensitive to something that they're eating, or is there a hormonal imbalance that's going on? So, we're just trying to treat the cause. And
Mhm.
then
Okay.
also a
Good.
big part of ours is actually doctor as teacher. So trying to teach the person to understand what's going on for their overall health and to give them the tools that they need to continue on. So it's a funny profession to be in because in a way you're hoping to get people better so that you never see them again.
Amazing. I love it.
Never want to see your face again. Goodbye.
Yeah,
You're
great.
all
I don't
better
see you anymore.
now.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. No. Interesting.
You briefly mentioned as you were talking there about, there could be some um, changes in diet, or that might be a way that you could treat someone. So, what are you seeing in the clinic that would necessitate, or how does that diet change or affect how we're feeling, or what's happening with our skin, or whatever it may be?
Yeah, so a lot of conditions we've come to realize have an inflammatory property to them. So even blood pressure, cholesterol, that sort of thing, we know that there's inflammation going on in a body. And of course, skin reactions, like we think redness and irritation, that's going to be an inflammatory process. So a lot of times from a food perspective, we'll look at foods that are linked to inflammation and how can we reduce that inflammation. A lot of times it comes down to a balance between acid and alkaline, which people hear a lot about, but don't necessarily know what is meant by that. Acidic foods, we always think are things like tomatoes or lemon. That's what people think because those are very acidic in nature. But
Mhm.
when it comes to foods and how they react in our body, those aren't necessarily the most acidic foods. It happens to be more animal based products and grains. So, a lot of like breads and
Okay.
pasta and that sort of thing. Those foods will increase inflammation in our body. And if we can balance those out with fruits and vegetables, which of course people are rolling their eyes right now saying, of course she's going to tell us to eat more fruits and vegetables. But we always say that within the meal or within your day, can you look to see that you're balanced with those acidic, like animal based, like eggs or dairy or meat, as well as your grains? Are you balancing those out on your plate with that fruit and vegetable component? Because that's going to help to achieve that acid and alkaline balance, which will help bring inflammation under control. Then we also look from a diet perspective, so things like hormonal health. We can do things with the use of omega 3 in the diet and omega 6 in the diet, and altering those throughout the month to help achieve balance from a hormone perspective, too, especially when we're looking at female hormonal health.
Hmm.
It's
Okay.
fascinating.
Good answers. Information is really important at this point because everyone's looking at their health and dealing with health issues. Every single person watching this show. Um, Dr. Berry, are naturopathy and homeopathy the same thing?
That's a great question because those do actually get confused. And a lot of people will say, I went to see a homeopath, and it isn't the same thing. So, a naturopath is a bit of an umbrella term. So, naturopaths
Okay.
practice a few different types of medicine under that title. So, you can see someone who is a homeopath, which
Yeah.
homeopathy is actually plants or minerals in really minute doses. So it's a very different and specific type of treatment. We do use
Hmm.
that in our practice, but we also then use like an acupuncturist. You would see someone there. So we do traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture. So naturopathy is kind of an umbrella term to cover nutrition as well as homeopathy as well as traditional Chinese medicine.
Okay. Great.
Wow. Okay. Um, so I'm probably at that age. Most people I know are at that age, and we never talk about that age where,
I'm at
we're
that age.
starting to. I know I'm at that age. But what are, like, as women, what do we start to look for? For signs of menopause, and because it's not the same with everybody, and I know we all talk about the hot flashes, or as I like to call it, my private summer. But like, what are we looking for? How do we help, ourselves? And what it's a terrible word, that menopause word.
Yeah.
It is a terrible word, and it doesn't have to be our devil or our nemesis. Um, so I would say more before even hot flashes and night sweats and things like that start, people will see changes in their menstrual cycle. So they used to have regular once a month cycles. They'll see, they're 25 days in length or 35 days in length. They start altering like their length, or they'll see changes in actual menstrual flow, heavier or lighter cycles, that sort of thing. But I see a lot of people seeing a difference in a mood based perspective. So they'll start noticing that they're more irritable often, or they're more sensitive. So crying at Hallmark commercials and things like that, instead of things
Hmm.
that they used to just let slide, they seem to rise a concern or a reaction in their body compared to before. And another change I find we see a lot is like midsection weight gain, because we
Okay.
know naturopathically we look at the hormonal shift that happens during perimenopause and menopause. And so instead of the ovaries balancing our hormones, the role goes to our adrenal glands, like our stress glands. And so if we're already taxed going into this time of our life, and most women are, like, they're moms and wives and they have careers and their plates are full from 18 to 45. And so they're already there. And so what happens is these adrenal glands aren't able to take on that role, and they start seeing those irritability and emotional changes happening because we're getting a bit of a mixed picture. It's not just a female hormonal concern anymore, it's that stress or cortisol level hormone reaction that's happening too.
So then
Awesome.
that leads me to a really, really interesting point. I turned 60 last month. And so why have I not yet had a hot flash? Like, ever, never. Night sweat, nothing, not even a warm flash. Um, I find it's a kind of unusual, and people think I'm lying, but it's the actual truth. I've never experienced it ever. And I have stopped, like, I'm past menopause long ago.
It's impressive that you've survived and you've told people that that's your case. And you still have a
Yeah.
close friends network. No,
Ah.
it's very individualized, so it has a lot to do with
Oh,
what your mom experienced or your grandmother experienced. So some people will transition a little bit better, but it also
yeah.
can have to do with your stress levels or cortisol levels going into this menopausal time. So maybe you were just set up a little bit better than the next person. You're also slim, so sometimes we look at body frame and estrogen levels and how that would affect based on someone's physique. So you
Yes.
were the
Like,
perfect
I'm
storm.
I'm always cold, and people say, "Don't say that." I'm always hot. So I don't think I'm going to get them now. I think I'm kind of past that stage. I would hope anyway.
I
But
won't put
thank you.
money on it, but I'm going to say that you're probably safe.
Well, that's good that you answered my question, because I was really curious as to why not me, right? My mother experienced it. I'm sure my grandmother did. My sisters, they're younger than me.
Hmm,
So thank you for giving me that information.
no problem.
Well, and it's interesting because I've been having hot flashes, not wicked ones, but hot flashes since I was in my mid-20s.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, like it yeah, like very. unbalanced, obviously hormonally, but that I started having not terrible ones, but yeah, I started having them in my mid 20s, and I sleep really hot. Like I need to have the air conditioning on, and like. But other
Yeah.
than that, I'm assuming I'm in menopause, to be honest, or I'm out of it because I didn't have anything else.
Do you cry all the time, Veronique?
Sure, but that's just normal.
I
That's just a
remember crying
Tuesday.
over anything. When I was perimenopausal, I'd cry because my kids were making a peanut butter sandwich and they didn't make it right or something. It was just ridiculous. But those days are past now, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that they are. I'm always cold, actually.
Well, it's interesting because we've had such different, experiences through it, right? And that's what it is, right, Dr. Barry, is that everybody's unique in what they're experiencing, and what I had or what Judy had or what, somebody else may have is not the same.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about naturopathic medicine is that we try not to paint everyone with the same brush. So we're trying to individualize the treatment for you and your experience because a lot of times people will think, oh, I can go to the drugstore and buy such and such off the shelf. But what you would need for hormonal balance is obviously not going to be the same thing that Judy would need. So it makes it a little bit more individualized when we look at what you've been experiencing for, 15, 20 years versus somebody who only experienced it for 6 months. So
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So when people are watching this and wanting to know, more about you and more about what you practice and your clinic, tell us the ways that they can reach you, where you're
sure.
located, for example, your phone number. Yeah.
Sure. So we're in Douglastown or in Miramichi on King George Highway. We always use landmarks. I feel like in Miramichi, we're across from the Denim Warehouse and next to the Honda dealership. So you can reach us by phone at 773-3700, or our website is Miramichi NHC, so Naturopathic Health Clinic, the abbreviation for that.com.
So, Dr. Barry, in the last minute that we have left, what are some words that you would like to share with our viewers? Any parting message?
I think everyone should try to make their health a priority. So, whether or not that means seeing a naturopath, it might be getting a massage or getting together with friends to work on mental health. I feel like we need to try to put ourselves first because we're often on the bottom of the list as women, doing things for everybody else first. So, take your health into concern and make yourself a priority and do something for you.
Thank you very, very much for being our guest. And Veronique and I often talk about health, and the viewers, of course, are listening to all the tips you gave them. They'll know where to find you now. And on behalf of Have a Chat, thank you very much for making time in your busy schedule to come on our show today. And we wish you all the best. And I would just like to say thank you once again. And to our viewers, thank you for joining us as you do weekly. And we're so happy that you did again today. We will see you next week for another show. Goodbye and take care. Stay well, everybody.